Welcome to the Software Report, a leading information source on software companies and solutions. In this episode, we speak with Amit Sharma, founder and CEO of CData Software, a data connectivity company that helps organizations connect applications and analytics tools to enterprise data across over 350 sources. CData provides real-time data access and data replication through a single platform used to reduce data silos and simplify integration across SaaS, databases, and big data environments. CData's platform is used by more than 10,000 customers worldwide, including organizations such as Office Depot, Bayer, FedEx, and Intel. Amit founded CData and has led the company since 2014 after serving as CTO from 2010 to 2014. He oversees CData's technical platform and business strategy. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoy the show. If you like the episode, click to follow. Amit, great to see you again. Thanks for taking the time.
Great to see you, RJ.
So it's been a while since we last spoke, and a lot's happened since then. But I'd like to actually start towards the beginning because you started CData, you co-founded the company, and today it seems like the wind's at your back, given everything that's happened with AI. But take us back to the beginning and the premise for founding CData.
Yeah, a good question. So when we started CData, we were seeing this problem where people wanted to connect to SaaS-based sources. Data was fragmented. Most enterprises were running tens of SaaS systems for accounting, for CRM systems, etc. And it was very hard to connect to all of the data and make sense of it for decision-making purposes, for BI and everything else. So we worked on a solution that could simplify that problem by providing a set of consistent connectors that you could deploy and build into your decision-making systems. Fast forward today, that world has dramatically changed. Like what we were thinking was only needed by decision-making systems now is the most important data set that you can bring to AI. So we've all seen how technology has improved and what AI can do. But to get to the most value out of AI in enterprise use cases, you have to bring enterprise context and data into AI systems. And so what we had set out to solve is still relevant with a twist. And so I'm excited that we are here at this moment where we can meet this market demand.
I'm curious when you started seeing this opportunity really open up. Was it 3, 4, 5 years ago where it was like, oh, wow, our solution is even more valuable?
Yeah, from a very high level, like when you saw the first instance of OpenAI came out, everybody was excited like with what ChatGPT could do. It was not immediately clear, and our industry has gone through these shifts in trying to figure out what is the right pattern for bringing enterprise data into AI. The first pattern was the RAG-based style, architectural style, when you take enterprise data, digest it into vector databases, and use that to bring context into AI systems. But what really took off was when Anthropic announced MCP about like 18 months ago. And it's only been 18 months, but when MCP was announced, when AI systems can actually go back and say, well, I understand your question, but here are some of the tools that you can use if you want to get more context around these questions. And the AI system can go and call out and say, well, what does our team know, or what does our data systems know about this thing that the human being is asking me about? And it can go and bring that context in using the MCP protocol. And that is when people's eyes were opened into what it could do. And people started thinking about purely agentic systems, much beyond chat. So it was chat with RAG, then chat with MCP. And now fast forward today to autonomous agentic systems that they can work on behalf of the users completely autonomously.
So to understand a little bit better, if there's a specific question that's being asked where the data within the enterprise is needed, really the only way to do that efficiently is to have connecting technologies such as CData. Otherwise, it's really difficult to gather all of the data necessary to answer the question.
That is correct. So there are a few patterns in the industry. One pattern is, of course, I can collect all of the data beforehand and assimilate it in some sort of a data warehouse, and then I can put my AI system to work through that. There are lots of challenges doing that. For some use cases, so if you're building consistent reports or something that is static in nature, that pattern works. But in others, let's say you are a salesperson and you want to understand what is happening with the opportunity you're working on, and you want to digest all the calls that have been done in the past, any other correspondence that this prospect might have had with other people on your team, it is very inefficient to go and move all of the data into a data warehouse, not to mention security concerns and other things. It's much more accurate and better to be able to go to the systems live. So that's the shift. Like the two patterns, one is you can move data into a warehouse and then you can mine it and use it. The other one is where you can directly go to the data source and ask the question. And that's where we come in. And if I may, like the way we think about this problem is in three C's. One is connectivity, like how do you connect to the system of record and how do you do that? Second is context. So using the same example of this AE trying to understand an opportunity, what does the data mean? Like, what does it mean if I have a transcript of a gong call or if I have some indication of the state of the opportunity? Many times the state is customized inside every enterprise and means something different for different enterprises. So understanding the context of the data. And then the third piece, the third C that we want to call out is control. Do this in a way that is secure. So only if I have access to this set of data set, like I am the sales AE, should I be able to do that? We wouldn't want anybody and everybody in the organization to be able to do that because that might create security considerations. So that's how we think about this within the context of three C's and how you can access data.
Mm-hmm. The talk of the town now is what's happening with software companies. How will they kind of survive over the next 5 to 10 years when it's easy to build a homegrown solution given vibe coding and the tools necessary? You're in an interesting spot given that you, I guess, originated as a software company, but you're quickly kind of, I guess, transitioning to more so of an AI company. I'm curious how you look at that, the lens of software versus AI. How do you fit in? It seems like your solution is needed, but I guess the question is, could it be replaced?
Yeah. So let me talk about the industry, like you said, like just general, and then we can bring it back to what it means for CData. But if you think about the industry, I think, and this is my personal humble opinion, that I think it is a little bit overblown in thinking that the software stack will disappear and people will wipe code. And I have whiteboard and it's very powerful. Like last weekend, I just played with Claude all through the weekend. It's fun to do for anybody who's a software engineer in the past. Now I can do things that I just could imagine, but didn't have the time. But now I can do that with Cloud Code. But what these software platforms give is more than that. They give you the infrastructure and consistency and workflows and patterns that are standards across the industry. So imagine the world where every organization has vibe coded a CRM system. What happens to the sales leader that goes from one organization? Like today, what happens is like the next person we hire, they bring in the context and how Salesforce was organized when they move from org to org. These people have developed not just the software, but people skills around the workflows that they are, those are hard to replace. It's not just the software, it's like the human behavior and workflows that have been created around those. And then the second piece I would say like is these companies are innovating and bringing AI to bear. So these companies don't move and actually don't adopt AI in a way that they can give the benefits of AI within their software stack, then I agree, they are under threat. But if they do that, and most are, like if you see what ServiceNow is doing or what Salesforce is doing with Agentforce, et cetera, they are moving in that direction with different amount of success. And that's not a belief that I share. Like I think it was interesting. I was in a conference where a creator of Claude Code was presenting, and the same exact question was presented to him. Like, hey, what do you think? Like, is this going to eat software? And he had the same answer. Like, no, like I think you build more AI capabilities on top of the software. Some things will go away, of course, like if they are not innovative enough and if they're not entrenched enough, those will go away. But I think it's a little bit overblown. Now, coming back to us, what does it mean for CData? We are adopting AI to build the tooling and everything else. So one question people ask is like, in our context, like you're building these connectors, couldn't AI build these connectors? Yes, AI can. In fact, like we use AI to build some of these capabilities. But there is a lot about building connectors that you have to understand that it's just beyond the code itself. I will give you a very simple example. It's just even having a sandbox and the domain of what you're trying to build a connector on is really hard to do. So let's say you want to build a connector for ServiceNow. The first thing you need to do is you need to have a rich enough environment for ServiceNow where you can build this connector, understand the various nuances and how it is deployed in various industries, and build it robustly. That is very, very hard to do. We, in fact, like I think our engineering team is working on this. We challenged our team to build a connector on Cloud Code, and we will share the analysis of like, what does it look like if you go back from scratch and build it, and then you compare it. So long story short, I feel software industry has a strong role to play, but it does need to innovate and try to bring the AI capabilities in-house and be more reactive to what's happening in the market.
So is it that the enterprise software companies, their clients, will continue paying for their subscriptions or whatever mode in which they do pay based on their contractual terms, but maybe the value shifts from they're paying for these new AI tools and functionality that their incumbent software vendors providing to them. And over time, the original kind of software product that's still being offered, but it's really not the value. That's not what these companies are paying for.
That is fair. Like this is what happens in a dynamic market every day, RJ, right? Like we are innovating and the value you create gets commoditized over time. AI is doing this rapidly, but we could say the same thing even if AI wasn't here. The value of, let's say, when people had built the old class 3-tier systems with screens and on Windows machines, those were very valuable at the time. But when the web came in and that eroded, like what's happening here is happening at a faster pace. So I acknowledge that AI is doing that at a faster pace. Value always erodes and people have to build a new value. But I think what the other piece that people forget is like these incumbent software companies also have the ability to deploy AI within their systems to capture some of that value. It's just not outside, it's in both sides of the plane.
Now, back to CData, you mentioned a use case with an account executive finding maybe some historical information related to a conversation. What other use cases are most prevalent? Is there like a catalyst situation where a company will say, I need CData?
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 use cases. So one we talked about, what I would call is just a chat assistant use case. So like I have a chat box, I can ask questions just like I can ask personal questions. I can ask questions in my work setting that are relevant to my work, and I could do that. The example we talked about. The second use case is there's no human in the loop. Let's say I need an agent that analyzes an opportunity, analyzes everything that I might have in my ticketing system that is relevant to the opportunity, analyzes gong calls, and automatically creates tasks and reminders for people to follow on. So there's no human, this is running. That is what we would call an agentic AI, where a human being could have done that. Like there are people who could have done that, but AI is much more efficient. It can remember all of those transcripts and can find things that you might have missed. And it can actually go back and tell you, these are the action items that we need to take on this opportunity, and can do that autonomously. So it can do that piece. The third place where CData is very relevant, we're talking about how all these SaaS companies are evolving and they have to create newer value. CData technology is, in fact, embedded inside one of the largest SaaS organizations around AI use cases. So we just talked about Salesforce Data Cloud and how it's used in Agentforce. CData connectors, 100 plus CData connectors are inside Data Cloud and serving the Agentforce need. A similar example, Google Gemini Enterprise today, like if you go to Gemini Enterprise and you think about all the things it can do, the underlying connectivity for Gemini Enterprise is coming from CData connectors. It's the same story for Palantir. So that's the third use case. Like as these software vendors are evolving and they are trying to build AI systems and agentic systems, they absolutely need connectivity into this enterprise data, and we are the best way to get access to it.
And I assume your technology is relevant across sectors. Are there any particular sectors where you're most used?
A good question. Most of the connectors depend on type of systems we integrate to. Our connector library tends to be very horizontal, like CRM systems, accounting systems that are just across verticals. We have done some vertical specific connectors too. So some proprietary connectors in the financial sector, for instance, or healthcare sector, but vast majority of our connectors are very horizontal.
Mhm. One area I like to touch on is investors. You have some great investors backing your company with Updata and Warburg. Can you just tell us a little bit about the value they bring to the table aside from the financial capital?
Yeah, absolutely. Updata, Warburg, and Excel. So Excel is also one of our investors. Yeah, I mean, I think they bring in pattern recognition, connections, guidance. So I can't tell you how energized we come out of our board meetings because when we have a conversation with our investors and what we are seeing, they are reflecting on what they are seeing in their portfolio. These are the times where the industry is moving very, very rapidly. So there is only so much our team can see. But these investors, through their portfolio, are seeing signals that are very relevant for us and they are bringing them to us. That is the most valuable thing I think I can share with you. Like there's obviously guidance in trying to pivot towards one strategy or the other, and they help us think through that. But their connectivity in the ecosystem and their portfolios is just something we could not have replaced.
Switching gears for a second, would like to learn a little bit more about you. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in India, moved on to the US to do my education and have been here since then. So I joke with people now that I've lived more in the US than I've ever lived in India. So even though I grew up there and I have fond memories from that, but mostly an American now.
That's phenomenal. And I believe, were you in North Carolina to start?
Correct. So I came here and people asked like what attracted you to North Carolina? And when I was trying to look for a graduate program, what I was looking for is the program of my liking, the professors and inexpensive. And I couldn't tell North Carolina from California way back where I was in India. Like just didn't have enough understanding of how US was. But I landed here, loved the place, found my co-founders here and have been here since.
Was this the goal to become the CEO of a tech company?
It was never the goal. The goal was to have a lot of fun at work. And so generally, I believe like if you're doing something, you should be really thoroughly enjoying it. So I kept moving from one part to another to where I found the most enjoyment. And I found the most enjoyment. So I was started my career at a very large organization. It wasn't for me. They teach you a lot, but it wasn't for me. I wanted more energy. I wanted more authority in decision making. I wanted more impact that you can get in a small organization. And those were the things that I was looking for when we founded CData. Less so about success and unfortunate, like a lot of hard work, but also a little bit of luck that led us to this fair.
Were there some rocky times along the way? Did you have any moments of existential threat, or were you more, I guess, methodical, and was it more predictable how you would scale?
So I think we walked the desert for like 4 or 5 years trying to find product market fit. If you look at our last conversation, it was around this topic. So there was a long period of time where we couldn't get product market fit. We were trying various things and there was no end in sight. And this was a long period, like 4 or 5 years. But I think what kept us going is we enjoyed working together. So the work was fun, even though it wasn't producing as much success as we would have liked to see. And eventually, when we found product market fit, it took off. So, yes, there was a long period of time where nothing really happened.
We're coming up on the tail end of the conversation. I have two final questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
There are so many people out there, but like these days, I'm mostly thinking of Satya Nadella, just because I'm talking about from my work setting. The
Hmm.
other person I'm thinking about is Abraham Lincoln because I'm reading his books. It's right in my mind. But I will talk about a little bit about Satya just because we've all followed Microsoft very, very closely. I knew a lot of people there. My friends worked there. So we were a partner early on, even in our journey with various companies I worked with. I have firsthand seen the transformation Satya brought in, where Microsoft was before and what it was after. And they were not succeeding. They were flat. They were not getting any traction. It is hard to kind of imagine what state they were in. And I admire how he did it. And the big part of how he did it is before he changed what the products were and everything, he changed the culture. So he focused inward and thought about what the culture of Microsoft would be and how they should be more open to letting their technology run on Linux systems and everything else. Like that was not a Microsoft way of doing things. So like one person that I keep thinking about is Satya and like how he could transform an organization around culture. And that sort of brings me to CData too. Like that's how I think about CData. Like I think I can do a lot if I can get our people to have a culture that we should aspire to. We could change the market outcome.
And what is it about the culture? Is there something you focus on in particular about the culture?
Yeah, I mean, the big part about the culture is you have to live it every day. So whatever those could be, and there for different organizations are different things. Like for our organization is great innovation, like being innovative and thinking about the newer technologies all the time, transparency and teamwork. So these are all the things that we talk about in our culture, but you just live it every single day, every single call, how you interface with people, how do you solve problems, and people realize it. We need to remind them of that. But like I think, for instance, innovation. Like I am going after call and actually showing like here's what I'm doing with Claude Code. Let's try this together, right? Like so that sort of builds it. Like you can talk about innovation, but like when you have the C-suite all playing with Claude Code and showing it live on calls, that sends a message to the team like, wait, like I should be doing this too.
Last question. Can you tell us about a charity cause or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
So very early on, like I found this charity called Room to Read. I sort of like again like crossing wires. Like this was from started by an executive who left Microsoft, was tired about the corporate work, and then founded this charity with a mission around educating people in different parts of the world. And that is dear to my heart. I'm not saying just that charity, but then many charities. But just this concept of educating kids across all over the world, I think is something very dear to me. Human beings are thinking beings, right? Like, so I think whatever we can do to elevate that part of our being is very important to me. So I think that is one charity, but any charity that is focused around education is very dear to me.
Well, Amit, I want to thank you again for taking the time. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks, RJ.